So Marvel Studios Phase 4 has had its ups and downs, but one of the recent highlights of Phase 4 was the invention of the Marvel special presentations, specifically with Werewolf by Night, and at this point of recording this video, the upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. And this is a cool concept where we can get little bite-sized introductions to various Marvel characters. And I want to expand upon this idea in this video with 7 pictures for Marvel special presentations. Now, some of these will be based around holidays, which seems to be the trend at this point, and some of them will not be. Some of these will focus on characters we haven't seen in the MCU, and some of these will be a way to reintroduce characters that we've seen within the MCU, but not the MCU proper, i.e. some old Netflix shit. I'm Brogi Naric, and you're watching the Playhouse. So like my recent video where I talked about 7 pictures for DC Studios films, I'm going to do the same here for the MCU with Marvel special presentations. Now, I have to say I did a review on Werewolf by Night, which I thought was really good. Really good. I wish it could have went a little harder than it did, but once again, it's also Disney, so, you know, it's going to have its give and take. One of the gives that I would want is all of these to be 1 hour minimum. Because Werewolf by Night was like 50 minutes, but really was more like 45 minutes, including credits. But with these future, I want these all to be a 1 hour runtime, essentially 55 or so minutes minus the credits. But I think that's a solid runtime for these. Because at a point, these could just be, you know, an hour and a half, which I think might be a little too much. So hour minimum is, I think, is a solid amount to kind of get in, get out. Some of these will focus around holidays, some of these will not. Because I kind of like the gimmick of these special presentations, kind of having holidays, but it doesn't need to be bound to that. Although that's what we've, like I said, we've had that previously so far. Before we get into it, don't forget to like this video, share, subscribe to the channel. We can use your help. We're really starting to grow, and I would like to keep that going. So share this with people, and let me know some of your thoughts in the comments. Now, my first pick for a Marvel special presentation is Ghost Rider. That's right, the Ghost Rider. Now, I have not seen the previous 2 films with Nicolas Cage. Have not seen them. Ghost Rider's not necessarily my favorite character, but he is a cool character. And the reason I think he would work better as a Marvel special presentation as opposed to a movie is that he's a cool looking character, but the stories aren't always the best. Now, there'll probably be some Ghost Rider fans who will say otherwise, but I think Ghost Rider will work in a smaller narrative, a more contained story where we don't have to, you know, do a bunch of 3-act stories with this character. Let's just get the cool stuff. Ghost Rider being scary, being this spirit of vengeance, this demonic entity that's out to right the wrongs and punish evildoers. Like, there's something contained. You don't need a full 3-act narrative for that. I think this would be great to kind of focus this one as sort of like a slasher film, but the slasher is the hero. Like, imagine if Michael Myers is you know, killing people, but the people he's killing are bad and he's the good guy. I would do that with Ghost Rider. Have this be another special presentation set around Halloween. Focus on like some criminals who are being chased down by this weird motorcycle guy with a flaming head. You know, I think that would be kind of cool. There's like 3 prominent versions of Ghost Rider. You got the OG Johnny Blaze, or you have the Danny Ketch version, which was the 90s Ghost Rider, and you have the Robbie Reyes version, which we recently saw in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., played by Gabriel Luna. I think either version would be fine. I would prefer Danny Ketch since we've already done Johnny and we've already done Robbie. Personally, I would go with Danny Ketch. But either of them would be fine for this. And like I said, the special presentation, you can tell a tight narrative of him going around, and you can just you can cut all the fat. You don't have to focus on the origin too much. You can probably get some hints to the origin, very much like they did in Werewolf by Night, where you don't really know his origin. It's in the middle of the action, and I think that would be the best way to handle Ghost Rider. And also, we could officially name drop Mephisto, or we could even get a cameo from Mephisto, since people have been obsessed with Mephisto for some reason. I don't know what YouTuber has been pumping that up since WandaVision, but maybe this would be the time where we actually get Mephisto. But it's just an idea. Ghost Rider, the Spirit of Vengeance would be my first pick. So number 2 on my list are characters that we've recently seen in the MCU. One of them who's been a staple for the longest, who's been a background side character, and he recently returned, and another character who is a fan favorite, but they've been kind of pushed to the side even though they've been in the franchise for a little while. And my number 2 picks are King Valkyrie and Lady Sif. Now this was a tough one because I wanted a special presentation that focused around Valentine's Day, and I had to find some classic characters or classic characters who were part of a relationship. Problem is, in the MCU, most of the famous relationships have either already been done or they can't do them just yet because they're related to the X-Men. So I had to think long and hard, and it took a while, but then it occurred to me that, like, let's just do King Valkyrie and Lady Sif, since both of them have been in the Thor franchise for a while. They're played by great actresses, Tessa Thompson and Jamie Alexander. They both were in Thor: Love and Thunder, and they didn't really do a lot, especially Valkyrie. She was just kind of there. She's, king of New Asgard, and she's kind of, bored with the position of being king, wants to be an adventurer, but she didn't get a lot to do because we had to do a lot of stupid goat jokes and just a bunch of unfunny comedy. Anyway, and then we got the return of Lady Sif, who had disappeared for a while. She had been on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a little bit, and we thought she was dead, but she's not. She came back. She didn't do anything in the movie besides lose her arm. And there've been talks about Tessa Thompson playing the Valkyrie character as a lesbian, and she wanted to have like a relationship with Captain Marvel, but that's not really a thing. Jamie Alexander has said that she would like to do a little relationship thing with Valkyrie's character, so fuck it, let's do it in this one. Have them go on an adventure. We can see more of the groundwork of them rebuilding New Asgard, and maybe they deal with some weird villain from the Thor pantheon that we haven't seen in a while. I'm suggesting either Ulik, who is this powerful Asgardian rock troll, who's, he would be pissed off that Asgard is dead and his people are gone, or his people secretly escaped and now they're coming back for revenge. Or they can do the character of Dario Agger, who is this corrupt Greek businessman who's also secretly a Minotaur. Maybe you can do it where he's trying to do some crazy land grab scheme for New Asgard, or he's like helping with the development, but he's trying to screw them out of their land rights. Something, I don't know, something like that. But I think it'll be, some characters. You can do a fun adventure. Once again, give these two actresses a little more screen time, a little more to do within the MCU. You can also maybe fill in some of the gaps. You can give Lady Sif some flashbacks, thinking about the Warriors 3, since they were kind of dropped after the second movie, or at least midway, early in Thor Ragnarok. You can, explain where she was when, Asgard blew the fuck up. Something, just expand, give us a little something, a little nuggets on these characters. King Valkyrie and Lady Sif would be my second pick. So, number 3 on the list is another character that we've seen in the background of the MCU, who is a popular character, especially in the early days of the 70s when he was created. He had his own movie, which I have not seen, but my third pick on the list is Howard the Duck. Well, Howard Duckson is an anthropomorphic duck who lived in New Stork City on the planet Duck World. It was a parallel dimension, and he was transported to Earth and trapped in the real world. And within the MCU, he was held captive by the Collector. He's voiced by Seth Green, and he's popped up like twice. And he was at the end of Guardians. No, 3 times. At the end of Guardians, he was in something else, but he was like at a bar. I can't remember what it was. Like Guardians 2? Something. And then he was at the end of Endgame. He was in there with a gun and everything. So Howard the Duck is a fun character. Like I said, he was popular enough to get a movie in the late 80s produced by George Lucas. I've never seen it. I know it's considered one of the worst comic book movies out there. Have not seen it. Have never seen it in my life. But I know Howard the Duck is a side character that has a fun fan base, and I think this would be perfect for a Howard the Duck character. Usually he goes on these crazy adventures. He's like super smart, but he's like a slacker. He's also the master of quack fu. He knows a little bit of magic, and he goes on these crazy adventures, sometimes tackling like satirical, serious stuff, but also goofing off with various villains and hanging out with different superheroes. He also has a strong connection to the character of Man-Thing, which, spoiler alert for Werewolf by Night, did appear in that series. You can tie him back in, make this almost a continuation of that. By now we see Man-Thing with another wacky character, aka Howard the Duck. I don't know what the adventure would be, but Howard the Duck is there, do something with him, and I think the special presentations would be a perfect way to kind of get a little wacky, even wackier with that character. So Howard the Duck is my third pick. My fourth pick on this list is another fan favorite character who's another wacky sort of superhero character. Once again, another character that I'm the biggest fan of, but I know this character has a huge fan base, or a very loyal fan base, to say the least. This character was going to be attached to an MCU project years ago, but they canceled it once Kevin Feige put his foot down. But I think the special presentation should be another way to reintroduce this character, and that is Squirrel Girl. Doreen Green, aka the unbeatable Squirrel Girl, is a fan favorite, a wacky character. She's this young girl who is a well-known superhero within the Marvel universe, and she has the powers of a squirrel. Anything a squirrel can do, she can do, basically. She has a big, bushy squirrel tail. She can communicate with squirrels. She has her two squirrel sidekicks, Monkey Joe and Tippy Toe, and she can communicate with squirrels. She's also a very good fighter, and she's called the unbeatable Squirrel Girl because she tends to beat the hell out of these impossible villains, usually because they underestimate how good she is, because apparently she's also a really good fighter. But she's a fun and wacky character. I can see this series sort of having sort of She-Hulk vibes, but better. Squirrel Girl was going to appear in the New Warrior series that was going to be on Freeform, but it got canceled. She was going to be played by Melania Venitra, the hot chick from the AT&T ads. You could bring her back, but I think they might go a little bit younger, because she is sort of a younger sort of teen hero. She's somewhat like Miss Marvel. She was like Miss Marvel before Miss Marvel, where she's this goofy sort of fangirl, but they're you can kind of put them in the same age range, maybe make her a little bit older, but she still has that bubbly, sort of fun personality. You can have her on this crazy, wacky adventure where she comes across I gotta think, maybe there's an MCU villain that's pretty powerful that they haven't killed. Maybe you can bring that character back, and Squirrel Girl gets in this crazy situation where somehow she saves the day with her crazy squirrel powers. But she's a fun character. And this series could also focus on other lesser-known superheroes and villains, just to kind of flesh out the sea level of superpowered people, which, as we saw in She-Hulk, that world is expanding, and this would be another sort of fun way to see the blue-collar, mundane life of a superhero. But Squirrel Girl, I think, would be fun, and the special presentations would be a great way to introduce this character. So Squirrel Girl is my fourth pick. So my fifth pick on the list will focus on a character that was previously introduced in the MCU, but he was done dirty. And this will be another way to clean that up. My fifth pick is Iron Fist. That's right, we will use the special presentations to reintroduce the immortal Iron Fist, aka Danny Rand, the generational martial arts hero sent to protect the world from Kung Lung. A recast is preferred. I will say recast, once again, a recast is preferred. But if they want to bring back Finn Jones, he better bring his fucking A game and get some act right. But once again, a recast is preferred. I would have this Immortal Iron Fist series to be loosely based on the Matt Fraction story, very similar to what they did with the Hawkeye series, where that was loosely based on the Matt Fraction series, which is what I thought the Netflix series was going to do, because that was one of the best things Iron Fist had did in decades. I don't know why they thought they could make their own original show and not focus on it. Well, they were going to focus on it, but they waited till the end of the second season to build into it for that eventual third season. But no, this will be a complete reboot. We don't really, kind of somewhat what they're probably going to do with the Daredevil series, but I would have this be a complete reboot. Once again, a recast is preferred. Find a white guy with some swag, because that's what was missing. You need a white guy with some swag. If you really know about Iron Fist, he needs to be a white guy with some swag. But anyway, we can have this series focusing on Danny, and he's struggling to potentially lose his dad's company, and he could be tackling the 10 Rings in America, because we had that end credit scenes in Shang-Chi where his sister Zhu Zilin is now taking over her father's business, and this could be some of the ramifications of that, so he could be tackling them. This series would be a precursor to an eventual Heroes for Hire series, God willing, or movie, God willing. And Danny would be so focused on fighting crime, he ends up losing his dad's business. Then he's broke. That leads him to forming a business with Luke Cage. You see where I'm going with this? And I know I guess we kind of got the martial arts thing on lock with Shang-Chi, but Iron Fist exists too. We can still do something with Iron Fist. You can keep this sort of low budget to a degree, but have it with those sort of 70s Kung Fu action flick vibes, or you can give it the modern Kung Fu flick vibes, like some of those Donnie Yen movies. You can give it that vibe too. Either way would be better than whatever the hell they were doing with Netflix. Just try. But don't give us a lot of business corporate bullshit. I wanted straight throwing hands and kung fu action with Danny Rand. So Iron Fist is my 5th pick. And my 6th pick is another character that was recently shown in the MCU, and this could be another reintroduction, although I do not necessarily think a recast is necessary. And that character is Misty Knight. Misty Knight is a former New York City cop who is now a PI who's protecting the city with her bionic arm. We can get past, we don't need to know exactly how she lost it, but now she's got her bionic arm. She's fighting crime on the streets of New York City. We can kind of focus on how everyday law enforcement are dealing with super criminals. I would have the series focus on her dealing with this special case that deals with a rival crime boss, the Kingpin, since the Kingpin is now in control. We can see some other crime families within the MCU, and she's dealing with that. Maybe it's Tombstone, maybe it's the Owl, somebody, I don't know. But we can develop connections with other street-level heroes and street-level villains, somewhat like with the Iron Fist series, like I suggested. This could also be a way to introduce or reintroduce the Daughters of the Dragon. We can bring back Colleen Wing, aka Jessica Henwick. And like I said, we could bring back Masone Messick. Hopefully we can bring her back, because she was so great as the character in the Luke Cage series, and I would love for her to come back. But if they must recast, I guess they could do that. But I would prefer Masone Messick coming back. But I love this character. She's a fun character. She's in a lot of stuff within the MCU that within the Marvel comics that we didn't really get into. Not just street level stuff. Like when Civil War happened, she was big in that. She was working with Tony and all that. So reintroduce this character, have her there, and let's just build up more of the street level stuff that hopefully we'll have that segment, being spearheaded by the Daredevil stuff. But Misty Knight is my 6th pick. And my last but not least, this is the one that I would like to see the most. My 7th pick on this list is Blue Marvel. So Blue Marvel is a character that's been around for a while. He was created by the actor Kevin Reveau. His name is Adam Sher. He was this young black man who was a physicist and Marine during the Korean War, who gained superpowers through this failed antimatter experiment, giving him the abilities of super strength, speed, flight, indestructibility, and manipulation of antimatter, and also allowed him to slowly de-age. His powers are very similar to what the MCU versions of Captain Marvel is. He's on that power level. I'm thinking of the Blue Marvel special as a 60s period piece that is a flashback which would lead into the present and show the current whereabouts of this character, who is someone that fans have been asking for, especially since the recent loss of Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa and the lack of Luke Cage. We still got Sam, but the lack of Luke Cage, we want some, more positive black hero representation. And Blue Marvel was a superhero who operated in the 60s, but then he had to retire. He was asked to retire by JFK after he had this big battle and his suit got damaged. His skin tone was revealed to the people, and people were losing their shit because it's like this big, powerful superhero guy is a black man, and we get civil rights movements going on. So JFK tells him like, "Hey, could you retire? Because you're going to cause a lot of problems." He agrees, and Adam Sher goes into hiding for decades. He was monitored by this SHIELD agent who eventually became his wife. He's a widower, but he ends up having 3 kids. His best friend Connor, who served in the military with him, became the supervillain Anti-Man. He had similar powers to him, and he had to pet him down, and he was dead for a while, but he eventually comes up in the present. But he's a cool character. It's a cool concept. It's essentially, Black Superman in the 60s, which is somewhat similar to the character icon. Adam Sher is one of the smartest characters in the Marvel Universe. He hangs out with Reed Richards and Black Panther, Monica Rambeau, and Tony Stark. He's up there on their level in terms of intelligence, but also power. His power level is crazy. He's up there with the Hulk, Captain Marvel, Thanos, all them powerful motherfuckers. Like he's on that level because his energy comes from the negative zone, which is a big deal within the MCU. It's this weird, crazy universe that's also tied in with the Fantastic Four. So that's another connection you can have with this character. But I would really love to see this character. He's a cool concept. He's a cool idea. And why not? You get the drama, you get the action, you get some seriousness with this character. I think it would be cool to give him a special presentation, and then he can start popping up in various movies and films. So we A lot of people assumed he was going to be name dropped or at least have a cameo in WandaVision when Monica Rambeau was talking about this science friend of hers that was going to make this special device, and it led to nothing. So do something with this character. I would love to see this character pop up. I would love to see all these characters get their shine. And I think the Marvel special presentations would be an easy way to not go overboard with 6-hour movies cut up into 6 episodes thing, because that's not quite working that well. So this would be just another way to kind of interject some of these characters within the MCU. So those are my 7 pictures for potential Marvel special presentations. You guys let me know what you think about them in the comments. Also let me know some of your own ideas of these in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, share it, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to hear more of my videos and ideas for what could be happening within the MCU, check out my video talking about the record problem with Blade and where that's going and who could potentially be the new director for the Blade film, because at this time of recording, it has not been announced. Hopefully we'll get some more news about what's going on with Blade, or at this point, just make it a fucking special presentation. I don't know. I'm Brogi Naric, and that's my video. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more. Peace.